Last night here, the residents of Gardenia, as well as some parts of the United States, were treated to quite the aerial spectacle. What time was it, Joey? It
Pretty
was
incredible show. Like 9, I want to
9
say.
p.m. last night. We were outside, or Joey was outside, and
Oh no,
heating up a can of soup on the campfire, and we saw the satellite. We didn't. I mean, we didn't know what they were at first, and what there was something that so Joey's like, Adam, come here, you gotta go and look at this. So I turn off the deck lights and I walk outside, and it's like, whoa, this is what it's gonna look like when aliens come. No, but it was a string of lights in the sky,
dozens of them.
and apparently it was 5 dozens of them
5 dozen.
exactly, because it was 60. And this is a big news story, and I didn't know. So this is the first one I got pulled up here. KTVB-7 satellites from SpaceX launch seen in the night sky. You don't have that one, Jim, but we'll get to the internet speeds. This is what this actually means for you. Idahoans report seeing a string of lights floating across the sky Tuesday evening. Turns out they are satellites from the Starlink network. And in our case, we saw them Wednesday night at 9. And I mean, I think we saw like almost all of them, right?
I
mean, it was,
believe they must have made it around the Earth
and it was
once,
like
and we're coming back. If they launched the
going into
night
further
before,
orbit. I mean, is this like a feature of the human experience of the night sky from now on, that they're going to be just like strings of light? Like, and I don't want to say it's, I'm not passing judgment yet. I don't know. Uh, I mean, a lot of interesting property rights usage kind of concepts come up for me when you think about, like, well, I own this land, right? And a lot of governments try to say, well, we own the mineral rights underneath and we can sell them to corporations, and therefore we can put oil derricks in your backyard if we feel like it. So obviously there's a certain like immediate usage of the surface of the earth, uh, and we think of it like, okay, well, you own the immediate airspace over your property, right?
like
And we think as a sovereign nation, you have territorial waters, right, within 200 miles, nautical miles, whatever it is, of your coastline. You have some proprietary authority over them. And Jim is showing these pictures now, or these images now. This video, it should be video, right? And it wasn't like particularly spectacular visually, but just and they weren't even, I knew they weren't aliens right away because they weren't evenly spaced.
Right, aliens have
now, like,
peace of mind.
Something no, something that humans launch into the sky is going to be subject to the imperfections of our atmosphere and who knows what else, right? And they were irregular, right? But if aliens were sending 60 ships down to patrol around the Earth, they would figure out even spacing, cover and alignment, Marine Corps style.
They'd at least want to look good.
But right? Yeah, right. So you could tell that this was some. And the only other thing I thought it could be at first was like a military aerial convoy, right?
Yeah,
like
the plane came out and started following them.
We saw a plane.
I think it was a private plane, maybe taking pictures, but that was like,
well, this is a commercial air corridor here over the I-40, so it's not unusual to see, I think, planes going from like LA area to Albuquerque or Denver, I think, fly over this area.
Yeah.
Or San Diego to Denver and LA to Albuquerque, like cross roughly over Gardenia. To plot that on the map, you can figure out where we are exactly, right?
Strengthen our air defense.
Yeah, the Gardenia Space Force is still in the planning phases, but the Gardenia Air Force is going to have to step up in the meantime. So these lights over the that did, I don't think they were in Gardenian airspace technically. They were off. They weren't quite directly overhead, but even at night you could tell. I mean, they looked like stars.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're just points
It
of
looked like
light.
Christmas lights that were moving,
Yeah, it was
just
like,
not in line or not
but
in
it was
even
eerie, like
spacing.
floating through space, this line of lights. And there, I don't know if it was like, I think it was because you could see the line, like where we were standing in the night sky conditions for us. You could see where the line came into, like you could, it was so long of a line that it stretched, it came out of the darkness and extended into the darkness.
Yeah, it
You
seemed
know,
never ending while it was
and
going on.
definitely by the time I got there, it was like across the horizon. And then we saw the last one. We saw the last one go across the sky, and then go into the
And it
darkness.
took some time. We were out there for like 5 to 10 minutes watching them.
Yeah,
Or would you say? Yeah,
5 minutes,
5.
maybe less. I mean,
It's
they were
long.
floating. It was 60 of them, and we saw most of them. So maybe that. So to the story of this, the other story um, is, what does this mean for internet? So from PCMag.com, we go to the, well, what does this mean for you? Starlink, here are the download speeds you can expect across North America and the US during Q1. The median download speeds for Starlink users ranged from 40 megabits per second to 93 megabits per second, depending on the location, according to data from Ookla's speed test. So, this is just blowing everything previous out of the water. Like the how long does it take to download a movie, right? Is like almost irrelevant now. I mean, we have the technological. Joe, you remember this? It was like you could stream video, you can watch it, like so you could download a 2 hour movie in 2 hours,
That was incredible.
and now it's like
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Now, before you get to the gas station,
Two,
after you push the button at the red light, the
you
movie's
could,
already downloaded.
yeah, and you can have it in. What that means though isn't just movies that like we like, and it's funny here right now doing this show in such a relatively low tech way with a cell phone and a laptop. And it's like, I mean, and an external microphone and solar power in the studio, but it's like very basic shit. But that's part of the point. It's like with basic shit, we can do amazing video.
I,
We can produce something incredible that Jim is able to do. Our producer Jim is able to put together this multimedia experience for you every morning, 5 days a week. And it's like, now, what does this mean? Aside from pretty lights in the sky that are kind of disturbing, the aliens will come and we won't know it because they'll be able to hide in our satellite mesh. Jim Freedom, Starlink threatened to ban a user that downloaded pirated movies. Well, then that Starlink user was not appropriately utilizing the VPN. That's all. Like,
do better next time, buddy.
But yeah, so and they have to play along with this intellectual property game right now for the establishment, but that's not going to last very long. So like, what does this really mean with this next level of speed? It's not downloading movies, it's not mastering video anymore. It's more like 3D holographic conference calling. It's being able to send data to AI servers to be able to be crunched. It's the idea of having a personal assistant, to have a robot or even a phone where you can say, "Hey Google," or it's listening and you can tell it like a person. Like, imagine being able to talk to your phone. I mean, this is. Remember, what was that movie with Joaquin Phoenix?
Which
Her?
one?
Was it Her?
I don't think I've seen
Where
that.
where he's got an AI phone assistant. Somebody help me out here. Shit.
I don't do movies.
Oh
my
my god.
attention span doesn't allow for it.
Someone's just, you can't raid your servers if your servers are in space. R.I.P. Pirate Bay. Yeah, no, it's I mean, that's just part of what's coming. Like, there's you can't. Eventually, the movement of data becomes so fast and cheap and superfluous that like the human experience is fundamentally altered.
I can't even imagine what 10 years from now is going to look like. I think about when we were kids and how cool Nintendo and Oregon Trail was and how advanced or how fast we've gotten to the point we are now, exponentially, yeah. And it's going to keep growing.
Okay, so I was right. The film is Her from the Wikipedia. Is a 2013 American science fiction romantic drama film written, directed, and produced by Spike Jonze. It marks Jones's solo. Blah blah blah. Hold on, but the plot. Uh, to the plot. What matters? In a near future Los Angeles, Theodore Twombly is a lonely, introverted, depressed man who works for a business that has professional writers compose letters for people who are unable to write letters of a personal nature themselves. Unhappy because of his impending divorce from his childhood sweetheart, Catherine, Theodore purchases an operating system upgrade that includes a virtual assistant with artificial intelligence designed to adapt and evolve. He decides that he wants the AI to have a female voice, and she names herself Samantha. Theodore is fascinated by her ability to learn and grow psychologically. They bond over their discussions about love and life, such as Theodore's avoidance of signing his divorce papers because of his reluctance to let go of Catherine. And eventually, I mean, it is such a, I want to watch this movie again now. This is from 2013. I mean, we've seen this coming, but now,
there.
like now it's like brace yourself. Lights in the sky, people. Faster internet than our brains know what to do with, if that's not true already. But next level functionality is on the horizon. Thank you, Mr. Musk. And with that, let's hear from producer Jim for producer notes this morning. Good morning, Jim Freedom, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. How are you, brother? My artificial intelligence.
Well, good morning. How's it going?
Brain is known as Jim Freedom. I think you're an AI program.
It's possible. It's possible. I'm an alien or an AI program, something.
Well, you know, like Ernie Hancock likes to say, nothing on the internet is real. And the thing is now, everything is on the internet. So nothing is real.
Oh, a simulation.
Did you see that movie, Her?
I have not.
No. No. All right. Well, we'll ask our co-hosts in just a minute.
Old Jim, one. I think I have actually, but I can't remember. I think I'm confusing it with Transcendence or something. That movie where he uploads himself into the computer. You know what I'm talking about? You seen that?
Yeah. No. This is different. This is lonely, depressed Joaquin Phoenix talking to his phone.
Yes. I don't know why. Jeez. Yeah.
And
that's old.
Thing is, you could start doing this today. Hey, Patrick Lewis, Mandela effect. Thank you for weighing in from across Gardenia. Yeah. I mean, but if we wanted to, I mean, you already have a device in your pocket that has a microphone and an internet connection. I mean, part of the reveal in Her is that the artificial intelligence that he falls in love with is simultaneously talking to thousands of people. It's one server.
Thousands of other artificial intelligences.
No, it's the same. It's one. Well, different names, but it's the same machine, right? Maybe we got to watch this again. Have like an Adam versus the Man movie night. Do it like Mystery Science Theater 3000 in here, and pause and comment and make dumb jokes. Well, come watch a movie with Adam. Better than cigars. Do Cigars and Sunsets Friday, followed by movie nights.
Theater Thursday.
Theater Thursday.
Trademark release.
All right. All right. Well, when we get everything organized around this 2-hour production, we can start adding on. But yeah, this would be a really fun one to do. And it's such an interesting, like the movie is, as I recall, is kind of mundane, like production wise. It's Joaquin Phoenix, you know, in a city, you know, in an apartment, in an office. You know, there's no action. You know, it's just
Yeah,
um,
they really have to sell how he became emotionally connected with her. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
that takes a lot of watching.
It's a bit of a mind fuck, but that's what humanity is. Like we're all about to get a finger in the ear in a way that's going to make us all feel like our brains got all squishy and rearranged, and yet everything is okay, and things are just going to keep getting better. But it's sort of like imagine if you okay, so you remember? Geez, we're explaining the world through movies today. I'm supposed to be. I've got a boycott of Hollywood on since like 2010, but you
But
know,
here you are.
Encino Man,
I love Encino.
right? Encino Man. What is it? Classic. What it's
Pauly
Pauly
Shore,
Shore and Brandon
Fraser,
Fraser. Yeah, it
and
was
then
those
the
two.
kid from
Yeah,
Goonies.
I don't know, but anyway, it's like a caveman comes to the modern age by being frozen or and unfrozen or something like that, and it's a really goofy 80s comedy, like almost a kids movie, right?
It's totally. He ends up in a high school. He goes to high
Yeah,
school.
he goes.
It's
Yeah,
a
he ends
kid's
up in high school, so it's pretty much a kids movie. Um,
movie in LA.
but you think of it, just think about if you took a caveman, and when did Encino Man come out?
God, like 94.
In the 90s, yeah.
Okay, but so we were taking and back then there was like it was sort of pre-internet world, right? It was like modern but pre-internet world. Like internet wasn't relevant in the movie Encino
We
Man,
had
as I
the
remember.
Walkman.
Right? Yeah, you had Walkman. We had Walkman. So with Encino, so you think about a caveman waking up in the mid '90s is almost like someone from 2015 waking up in 2025. You know, just
Yeah, just
like
10 little years.
just that the difference from state of nature. Like how long ago can we say, but you know, for obviously very random subjective analytical purposes here, that humans were living more or less in a state of nature, right? Like
100 or 200? Not that long ago.
200 years? No,
Human history,
1,000.
oh, in a
Yeah, I
state with
would say
no.
Like no,
thousands.
like nothing more, like no domesticated animals.
Oh, that
Like
far.
that primitive, where like hunter gatherer. How long ago was that? Tens of thousands of years.
Who knows?
But the difference from that to say 1900, you go from that to 1900, it's like holy shit, you're gonna blow that caveman's mind, right?
It's happening now. You've got people on 20-year jail sentences. They get out and they don't even know how to do life. And they were only gone for say 10 years at a 20-year sentence or something.
We all, I mean, how does anybody know anybody who doesn't have a smartphone anymore? Do you even know anybody who doesn't have a smartphone?
There are more smartphones than people in the United States. I did read that headline.
Well, of course, because you got to get a new one every so often, right?
You have to have three. One for.
No, but Jim, do you know anybody who doesn't own a smartphone?
I don't know him personally, but I have come across one customer, and I'll never forget the guy when he whipped out the flip phone. I was like, what? The old Nokia, you know, I was like, man, I had that. Everybody obviously had that same exact one. It was funny.
We take it for granted. I mean, it's one of my favorite things about doing Adam versus the Man is stepping back right now to appreciate the hockey stick phenomena of humanity's experience with technology. Like just to step back and go like, whoa, no, like you remember berries? Remember being a kid and like none of this existed. Like I don't know.
Never imagined all of this when I was 6
We're the boomers. All the young kids in the audience are like, yeah, we're going back to something else now. Like we're not even listening to Adam. Like shit. This is you're all yeah. What's a Walkman? Yeah. So before music was stored digitally, we had to put it on cassette tapes.
Back when
this magnetic film that we imprinted music on.
When the M in MTV stood for music.
No, not the words and the notes. Like we were able to make the music like an imprint on the tape. No, I don't know how it worked, but Do you know how your phone works? No, of course not. That's the crazy thing is we're going to be surrounded by so much stuff where we're just like, it works. All right, Jim, hit us with some promos. Let's make some money this morning.
Got it. T.me/Adam versus the man. That's the public Telegram channel that everyone is welcome to. Everyone watching this show live or after the fact can join that Telegram channel. T.me/Adam versus the man. Open to everybody. If you want to be like whoever ends up winning one of our contests on a daily and you want to join the private producers club, but you don't think you can win a contest or you don't want to use your time doing it that way, you can just go to adamversustheman.com, click on Patreon, check out the different levels of ways to support the show. $1, $5, $10, or even $50 a month. There are levels. $10 a month is the sweet spot that makes you a better patron. That's going to get you access to the private producers club that I mentioned. Once you're a private producers club member, you can shop the shop at adamversustheman.com and you'll get 15% off and free shipping on everything you order there every time. So it's definitely a great deal. Take advantage of that. After that, you can click on the Cigar Federation link we have on adamversustheman.com and you can shop their store and use promo code ADAM10 to get 10% off your entire order there. So plenty of discounts to go around. Awesome products, awesome quality, great cigars from Cigar Federation. Definitely check them out and use the promo code ADAM10 to get your discount. We got new pictures and new family members that are part of Gardenia going at the Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. We have Thelma and Louise, the brand new addition to Gardenia. They're going to be subject to many of the future pictures at the Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. So definitely get yourself connected there and check that out. Here's a beautiful one.
Yeah, look at that. That's Thelma posing this morning on a rock, just looking so majestic, all on her own.
Just letting everybody know that she's going to be perfectly photogenic. So you're going to want to be connected to this Instagram at the Garden of Freedom. Get yourself connected. Definitely.
Pull up the one with the tags there for a second, Jim.
Okay. Let me go back.
Yeah. So I got really, really lucky, I think, with these puppies. I was at, I don't know how much the other people involved want to be public, but at one of the restaurants in town that I love going to, Ranch House Cafe, we heard from someone there, someone working there, that they had this litter of puppies, and it was actually her son. And it just perfect timing. It was like 8 weeks ago. They said, "Hey, we just had this litter of puppies. We don't know what we're gonna do." And I was like, "Well, I'll take 2 of them." And later we figured out that their names are Thelma and Louise. And I don't know how legible it is, but they just posed for this picture. But this is a zoom in. If you scroll to the right there, Jim, you can zoom out. Yeah, on the picture. See that? Because there you go. You can see what that's a zoom in of. They were in their carrying crate, looking out, and they are just amazing dogs. Pit Rottweiler Shar-Pei mix. And one of them, Thelma, is a classic brindle, beautiful markings and stripes. And the other one, Louise, is a chocolate brindle, which is not even something I knew was a thing. So she is like chocolate lab coloration, but with tan tiger stripes. And I don't think we have a really good picture that shows that, but there will be more. So if you're not on Instagram, you can still see all those pictures. Just check out the gallery whenever you get a chance. Instagram.com/the Garden of Freedom will get you there too.
Yeah, excellent. Definitely get yourself connected. A couple more things. Visit, please, thecrypto6.com, the Bitcoin church that was raided. You likely heard about. These are the QR codes for the different cryptocurrencies you can use to donate to them to help them with their legal fees and everything else they got going on to help them out with that. So definitely visit thecrypto6.com. And then lastly, GoGreenEnergyOnline.com, the best website for anyone that's considering getting themselves off grid or just self-sustained with energy and power. The do-it-yourselfers, this is a great website for you to learn everything you need to learn, educate yourself, and they have videos on zero energy homes. Just plenty of good resources for the do-it-yourselfer that wants to go off grid or self-sustaining. GoGreenEnergyOnline.com. Go.
All right, let's get our co-hosts on here. I think we have Ed and Mercedes both joining us, and I know Ed is so. Ed, good morning for your normal Thursday duty. Tell us where you're at this morning.
This morning I'm in Flagstaff, Arizona, where I am stuck in a medical facility parking lot while my next door neighbor gets an upper and lower gastrointestinal picture taken.
Well, it's great to be able to do a friend a favor, right?
Yeah, I was hoping to take care of stuff on the side, but it just happened this way. So
So we're
Mercedes is kind of backing me up. I'm getting low on battery power on my phone, but I got today's contest. Okay.
All right, hit us.
Yeah, in relation to your lead story, let's make the winner today the best UFO encounter story.
All right, all right. Well, I don't know if it was. UFOs would be better if it was aliens, they would know how to cover in a line and make the spacing between the spacecraft even. But no. All right, Kevin Claypool already weighing in here. I saw a UFO up close and personal, 50 feet from my face, in 2003 en route to our horse trailer in Southwest Kansas. Like nothing I've ever seen. Like I was watching a movie. The material it was made of. Yeah. Well, there was a sense last night watching the Starlink satellites. Like this is a unique human experience of all of the humans who have ever lived. And I think about the Louis C.K. joke. He starts one of his specials like, well, most people aren't here. Well, wait, actually, most people are dead. It's like, yeah, by the vast majority of people who have ever existed are long dead. And you think of all the people who have ever existed, how many have gotten to experience watching 60 Starlink satellites almost perfectly in a line floating across the sky and going, yeah, Team People did that.
I had a really unique experience when I lived in Southern California in being able to see the International Space Station go across in front of me, and then seeing on television them getting into the shuttle and exiting the space station. And then I'm in California where they're going to land. So I see them go 90 seconds across the sky, and then they went around and then they landed, and I watched them land on the TV right next to me. That was cool. It was cool. It's like, I know they're up there. I saw them leave. I saw them go around, and then I saw them land right here, and here they are. So this place is round. All you flat earth people.
I'm about to drop my actual legit UFO footage in the producers club chat. So
all right, if you want to see that. Yeah, Joey has some like legit, this was covert military ops kind of UFO footage. Yeah. But it's crazy. I don't believe that any of it's aliens. I mean, just to be clear, like I don't think
they'd be more clever. I think.
I mean, it's possible that aliens might have come here pre-civilization, which is like why the ancient aliens ideas are so tempting. But none of them are credible. I think if aliens came to this planet, it was prehistorical.
Or we are the aliens.
Right? No,
like we're doing right now.
No. The evolutionary record is too clear here. Well, this is there was a natural
nine species and then humans. So how clear is that evolutionary record?
No, there were it's like nine subspecies of humans, and we're the ones that managed to be the biggest assholes and kill the rest. All right, Patrick Lewis had one with a crimson red light shut off its lights and hover over me 100 feet or so, gave me an electric feeling, completely quiet and amazing disc with like a spinning fan. Yeah, I mean, a part of this is just one of the reasons talking about UFOs and aliens and the possibility is so important is to undeniably recognize how much governments operate in secrecy and how they tend to be about a generation ahead of the public for technology. D. Vincent W. In 1980, I was walking my dog Max. I saw lights in the woods at the end of my street. There was a vibration in the ground in my body. I woke up 8 hours later in my backyard with my dog licking my face.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ed, and if Mercedes is with us, then let's get Mercedes up here too on this, technological leap. Do you guys have any thoughts on the perspective of timing of where we are? I mean, we've all got a few years on this rock here, at least enough to have some perspective. Is there something like, is there a way to reach younger audiences and say, well, you should appreciate this, young feller?
I'll tell you, Adam, if you want to make an entire show on this, okay, I can go into detail about what the first people on this planet that wrote things down in a lasting manner, what they had to say. They were called the Sumerians, the people from the land of Shinar. And they told a fantastic story that if we taught this story to all the children in the world as they were growing up, we'd be living in a completely different place. I'm telling you, because it's the most cognizant cosmology I've ever come in contact with. And I got a long story that starts with a sociologist who was writing on the impact of society that this information would have when they got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So slate that for a future show, man, because I'm telling you, it's a great story. It's very involved. It's very concise, and it's called a myth when I don't believe it's a myth whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I think we should plan a special on that. Mercedes, thoughts on the timing and the acceleration of the human experience right now?
Well, in my professional, non-professional opinion here, because I'm not a professional, I have no degree, but in my observation, it gets really hard to hide shit when you can record things. Mind control doesn't work if you have evidence in front of your face that says this is what happened, you see it. Now with the deep fake videos now, that does bring into question, if you're not watching it live in front of you and you're recording it like we do at protests, you can't be sure of anything. So, but the other side of that, once enough people experience the same thing and come together and speak about their experiences together with their evidence that hasn't been messed with, it gets really hard to hide it. So now we're in the technological era of humanity where everything's on the internet. Everybody can access anything. Is it real? Is it fake? I don't know. But when you have 1 million people saying the same thing, it gets kind of hard to hide the truth. So I think we're at that point where the CIA is releasing documents of alien encounters saying, hey, they're here and we need to be nice. And Russia's legit saying, hey, no nukes in space, kids. We don't want to get blown up. Like, and when Putin, when Russia's like, hey, we need to chill the fuck out. Something bigger than Russia is coming. And I am acutely aware of how small we are as people on this rock in space. And it kind of brings you into that existential crises almost if you get too deep into it, because you really understand how small you are on a cosmic scale. And that's why you have aliens in your hair. Because this topic is heavy. Oh, see, even Cora's running away. She's going to go upstairs and slam her door again. But what it is that humans, when they see it last year during the pandemic, everybody was talking about aliens. I like to tell everybody the internet rated Area 51 for my birthday. Thank you. That's my favorite thing ever. Yeah, it should have been on Joey's. It started on Joey's birthday and went into my birthday. For our birthday, we got raves in the desert with aliens, clapping cheeks. Clapping cheeks. That's just it, is that humans aren't reacting on a freak out scale. You say alien and people are like, yeah, I want to meet them. Can we get on with it? And so if there is extraterrestrial life, not if, because we know there is, because we are now extraterrestrial life on Mars. We are the aliens on Mars. We are flying things around on Mars. Like, how do we know we're not disturbing a microscopic community
From the
of
Martian
aliens?
perspective, that's an alien probe.
How do we? Yeah, that's just it. Is how do we know that we're not? Look, you have multidimensional speak and black holes, and you get into the micro theories and cosmos and stuff, and just aliens. And so we need a special about this whole show. Like, we would sit down Sunday or something where we can just.
All right. Well, one last thought before we
The
get into
aliens
our
have invaded.
All right, one last thought. I hope to tie this all together before we get to our mundane news about the big eviction crisis impending in the United States, is that considering big ideas like this is humbling, and it increases your understanding of yourself and your own place in the universe. You can be smart, be an intelligent life form, and keep your focus and attention always on the ground right in front of your feet and never have any perspective, and you're living much more like an ignorant animal than a great conscious being that we have the opportunity to become by directing our consciousness to the greatest scale possible, and then to understand ourselves as very microscopic parts of this immense, never-ending universe. And to consider these ideas means that we get to understand more and therefore live better as we are the phenomena of the universe becoming aware of itself. And so this time phenomena that we're experiencing right now, it is a strange time to be alive, and it's an honor to share this conversation with all of y'all. So with that, get your comments in. Mercedes and or Ed will be watching the whole show, getting your UFO encounter stories up to win membership in the Producers Club. Left-handed salute. All right, to Forbes.com. Judge overturns CDC's nationwide eviction moratorium. Yep. A federal judge on Wednesday overturned a nationwide halt on evictions ordered by the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in a move that will leave many at risk as an estimated 12 million renters struggle to catch up on payments. Now, one of the themes that I've brought into my understanding of the coronavirus phenomena, pandemic, racket, hoax, everything around it, dark cloud over society, is that there's a bifurcation of the economy happening. That as government control gets stronger and stronger over the things that it does control, more businesses go to the gray or black market. And what we saw with that in particular in Texas, but in so many other places, right? Salons and barbershops moved from storefronts where they were allowed to, legally operate and pay taxes for government protection, moved into garages and basements and living rooms. Meanwhile, those who are allowed to do business, the banks, the grocery stores, the Walmarts, the hardware stores, the oil and gas companies, right? All of the major players who are the profiteers of this upheaval in the economy are going to be doing very well. People who are able to get those government contracts still keep the money flowing. Whereas if you're a server, bartender, hotel maid or clerk, you might just be shit out of luck. And for a lot of those people, that was the forced unemployment crisis of last March. But the CDC stepped in and made sure that it wasn't that bad. At least people wouldn't get kicked out of their homes with a moratorium on evictions. But there's a problem with that. I mean, it's problems on top of problems, right? Government solution on top of government solution on top of government solution is really just a big pile of shit problems stacked on top of each other. And so in this case, oh yeah, you think it's nice. Let's not kick people out of their homes because they just lost their jobs. But if the solution is to force them to be able to stay there, what you're saying is that now if you're an owner of a property, you have to let people live there. And there was abuse of this from the beginning, because there are people who should get kicked out. And of course, people who shouldn't, who didn't have a choice, but because of the forced unemployment crisis, they were. And the crazy thing is, we talk about the real estate bifurcation, right? Because commercial real estate took a huge hit and then a major consolidation under those who had liquidity at the time. We cover this, especially looking at the Florida corridor, as you recall, maybe about a year ago, where all of a sudden there were all sorts of defaults because people stopped paying rent and then they couldn't pay for their mortgages and their leases, and boom, then you had the commercial real estate crisis. But now the residential real estate crisis has two faces, one for owners and one for renters. We go to SF Gate for our next story. We'll come back to the evictions. SF Gate, the East Bay real estate market is so hot. Houses so hot right now. Houses are selling for more than $1 million over asking price. Yeah. Yeah, this is.
But people are getting evicted.
So if you were in that ownership class and you were looking at, $1 million plus homes, and the thing is, there's a way that they're going to be able to skew this and say, oh no, the housing market, real estate's doing great. Look at this. We're getting multiple offers. Houses aren't on the market for very long. And yet, for renters, things aren't looking so great. So back to Forbes here. DC District Judge Dabney Friedrich tossed the CDC's moratorium, arguing the agency had exceeded its authority with a temporary ban in violation of the Public Health Service Act. The judge wrote, "It is the role of the political branches and not the courts to assess the merits of policy measures designed to combat the spread of disease, even during a global pandemic. The ban was enacted last September under Trump to protect renters hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and while initially set to expire at the end of the year, was extended to last through June by the Biden administration. The judge, a Trump appointee, sided with the group of realtors and property owners who brought the lawsuit to court, highlighting the mounting financial burden they are facing, as some tenants haven't paid rent in a year. The Department of Justice, which represents the CDC in legal disputes, asked the court to narrow the effect of its decision to just the plaintiffs, as some other courts have done in their previous rulings on the moratorium. But Friedrich refused, saying the CDC order must be set aside. So basically, this is a slap in the face. At least, that seems like it's playing into the mythology, right? Oh yeah, slap in the face. The medical tyranny got shut down. No, they tapped on the brakes because they realized they were getting totally carried away. And they go, oh yeah, you can't do this. And also, I think this is time. I think there's some other manipulation of the timing here where they go, okay, they don't get to do this anymore. We were able to manipulate, hold off, because if you can intervene in a market and control the timing of things being altered from the natural flow of resources in that economy, then you can step in and profiteer. So the crucial quote here, the question for the court is a narrow one. Does the Public Health Service Act grant the CDC the legal authority to impose a nationwide eviction moratorium? It does not. So the order was implemented last year to prevent mass evictions in the midst of a global public health crisis for individuals earning $99,000 or less per year, or couples filing jointly that earn $198,000 or less per year. Renters were also protected by a patchwork of local and state protections, many of which have since expired. Even with the national ban, some landlords were still moving forward with evictions, spurring a recent warning from the Biden administration for big landlords to comply with the federal freeze. Though Congress has allocated nearly $50 billion in renters assistance since December, the New York Times reported late last month that just a small portion has reached landlords and tenants, while in many places it is impossible to even file an application for the aid. Yeah. I really want to get on the whiteboard now and draw like the curve and what's being taken from us. But it's like if the human experience is exponential and our productivity is exponential, and you see the wealth and capability of the top 1% of society being exponential, and then for the rest of us, it's linear. And it's not just that it's linear, but the little bits of increase that we get, government takes credit for that along the way. And we get tricked. But the reason they get away with this is that government successfully fools most of the public into believing that trickle of increase in standard of living over time is something that the government deserves credit for, as opposed to they deserve credit for having stolen all of this wealth and prosperity and quality of life that we would be enjoying, that is instead going to the super rich, the people that they're serving, and the government sponsor class. And so when I see a story like this, I go, yeah, well, even though things are getting better, and I don't want to complain, like we live in it's a great time in terms of the human experience to be a peon. Holy shit. I would rather be homeless in the United States 2021 than to be a governor in ancient Rome.
Look at the nomad revolution going on right now. It's happening. People are choosing to be homeless. Life expect.
Well, I'm talking like just medical care, access to reliable food, science, understanding. I mean, the governor. I'm thinking maybe I'd be emperor versus homeless. Yeah, but like to be even a man of station in an ancient civilization, your quality of life was. I think I'd rather be a homeless man in 2021. Yeah, you get my point. There's some comparison there. But here is, according to Forbes, the big number on this story, 11.9 million. That's how many renters nationwide reported being behind on rent in March, according to Census Bureau data analyzed by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Yeah. So I've been, there's some corrections and there's some I told you so's in all of this, but I do want to say that I have not successfully myself. This is one place my predictions have failed in the timing of the eviction crisis, and I was shocked earlier when it didn't materialize in the way that we expected. That it was a trickle instead of a sudden move. But that you look back and go, man, Adam, you should have known. The government's not going to let there be some secondary sudden calamity that can be more easily blamed on them. I mean, they can blame the virus itself on someone who fucked a bat in Wuhan, China, but they can't say that a second wave of eviction bullshit is not something that they could have affected or controlled or manipulated or been there to protect people from. But now that they're ready, now that those parts of the conspiracy are in place, they let this court case go through and no more moratorium on evictions. So if you know someone this might be affecting, if you know one of 11.9 million renters, and you know how many probably the average renter is supporting at least one other person. Talking 24 million Americans. Maybe it's not that many altogether, but if that many were to suddenly start going through eviction, that is going to be a major national homelessness phenomenon, and I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope the powers that be playing with the levers somehow manage to avoid such human suffering as would come from that. But I fear that a lot of them are going to end up in homeless shelters or government housing, or slowly getting pushed into matrix pods or just pushed off the planet one way or another. We have an update now on the falling Chinese rocket from The Guardian. Falling Chinese rocket to crash to Earth on weekend as U.S. calls for responsible space behaviors. And you go, really? Really? From the government that is the only one that ever dropped nuclear weapons on people. Oh, yes, let's be responsible. Communist Party newspaper claims Long March 5B should easily burn up an atmosphere, but expert warns pieces will reach Earth. Well, this one prediction, we're gonna find out, what you're talking about pretty soon here. The White House has called for responsible space behaviors as a Chinese rocket thought to be out of control looks set to crash back to Earth on Saturday, U.S. time. The U.S. Space Command is tracking debris from the Long March 5B, which last week launched the main module, a of China's first permanent space station into orbit. The roughly 30-meter long stage, that's 100 feet for you who are still in the Imperial system, long stage would be among the biggest space debris to fall to Earth. The nonprofit, federally funded Aerospace Corp has said it expects the debris to hit the Pacific. If you're a federally funded nonprofit, doesn't that just make you an agency of the federal government? Aerospace Corp has said it expects the debris to hit the Pacific near the equator after passing over eastern U.S. cities. The orbit covers a swath of the planet from New Zealand to Newfoundland. The U.S. Defense Department expects it to fall to Earth on Saturday, though where it will hit cannot be pinpointed until within hours of its re-entry. This is a really interesting current space phenomenon, right? Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, quote, the U.S. is committed to addressing the risks of growing congestion due to space debris. What are we showing now? I see a black screen. What are you showing, Jim? The white? oh,
that's the rocket falling around the Earth.
That's it. Hold on. You can actually see the rocket tumbling now. Put that back up. No, not my face. That's it tumbling in orbit? Is that what that is? Anyway, White House press secretary, the U.S. is committed to addressing the risks of growing congestion due to space debris and growing activity in space. And we want to work with the international community to promote leadership and responsible space behavior. China's space agency has yet to say whether the rocket is being controlled or will make an out-of-control descent. But the Global Times newspaper published by the Chinese Communist Party claimed the rocket's thin-skinned aluminum alloy exterior will easily burn up in the atmosphere, posing an extremely remote risk to people. And you go, well, one of these governments is lying, at least. Could be both. All right, we go next to Colombia, DNYUZ. Colombia, strained by pandemic and economic hardship, explodes in protest. A teenager shot to death after kicking a police officer. A young man bleeding out on the street as protesters shout for help. Police firing on unarmed demonstrators. Helicopters swarming overhead. Tanks rolling through neighborhoods. Explosions echoing in the streets. A mother crying for her son. We are destroyed, said Milena Meneses, 39, whose only son, Santiago, 19, was killed in a protest over the weekend. Colombians demonstrating over the past week against the poverty and inequality that have worsened the lives of millions since the COVID-19 pandemic began have been met with a powerful crackdown by their government, which has responded to the protest with the same militarized police force it often uses against rebel fighters and organized crime. This explosion of frustration, Colombia experts say, could presage unrest across Latin America, where several countries face the same combustible mix of an unrelenting pandemic, growing hardship, and plummeting government revenue. Speaking of exploding, what is going on in the Producers Club?
Yeah, craziness right now.
All right.
I got it.
And Co-host crew is getting organized as well. All right. Okay, so back to the story. We are all connected, said Leon Valencia, a political analyst, noting that past protests in Latin America have been contagious, jumping from country to country. This could spread across the region. On Wednesday, after 7 days of marches and clashes that turned parts of Colombian cities into battlefields, demonstrators breached protective barriers around the nation's Congress, attacking the building before being repelled by police. Several people in the political party of President Ivan Duque are asking him to declare a state of siege, which would grant him broad new powers. Oh, yeah. The clashes have left at least 24 people dead, most of them demonstrators, and at least 87 missing. And they have exacerbated the anger with officials in the capital, Bogota, who many protesters say are increasingly out of touch with people's everyday lives. On Wednesday, Helena Osorio, 24, a nurse, stood at the edge of a rally in Bogota. I am in pain for Colombia. I am in pain for my country. All that we can do to make ourselves heard is to protest, and for that, they are killing us. The marches began last week after Mr. Duque proposed a tax overhaul meant to close a pandemic-related economic shortfall. By Sunday, amid demonstrations across the country, he rescinded the plan. But the unrest has not abated. Instead, fueled by outrage at the government's response, the crowds have only grown. Demonstrators now include teachers, doctors, students, members of major unions, longtime activists and Colombians who have never before taken to the streets. Now, there's one thing I want to point out in a story like this. 24 dead, 87 missing already. When was the last time a protest with that kind of scale of death or human consequences like that happened?
Has it?
We have follow-up story. We have a follow-up story today on January 6th. We're still talking about January 6th. It's May 6th. February, March, April, May. 4 months. And how many people died? January 6th, there's one protester shot, right? And one cop. And then like another one died from a heart attack related. And then, I mean, I can't remember now because we like added one or two and then we subtracted one or two. It's like, no, they didn't actually die from what happened on this. They just had a heart attack that happened because they were excited about the raid on the Capitol. False flag, insurrection, healthy disrespect for authority. I'm starting without you on the smoke weed everyday thing. Well, it's okay. Go ahead. We'll join you at the end of the show. But they think about in Colombia, 24 people die, 87 missing, and it's like, yeah, whatever. By comparison, I don't want to say like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, no, that's a big deal. But just appreciate how much more secure our lives are here as citizens of the empire, and appreciate how cheap other people's lives are as a result of our complacency with the empire. Remember, Russia has been suggested as the other axis, right? Of the two great superpowers, Russia versus the United States. And now Russia's economy is a 30th the size of the U.S. Really, China, more appropriately, is the opposite superpower now. But if you're not one of those two, and even in China, well, when you have over 3 times as many people as the United States, that equation is different there too. But how does a death factor into this? 24 dead. If it was in the United States at a protest, this country would grind to a halt. You have 24 people died. Imagine if police shot 24 protesters on January 6th instead of one. You know, who was like, you know, putting herself in a situation where she was going into a building where she knew she wasn't allowed, right? I mean, just to put it in perspective. If it was like protesters outside of the Capitol January 6th and they just opened fire and 24 of them dead, and then 87 who arrested or who were there are missing, the nation would grind to a halt and pay attention to nothing but that. And in other countries, the manipulations of the CIA and the U.S. federal government covertly are such that lives in other countries are effectively very cheap. And it's a sad thing to say, like, let's extend this respect for life and value of human life to the entire human family. What was that comment from Ant there? It was a good one, huh? So I've decided with all we have going on today, I'll start day drinking. Is it too early for Shine or no? Go ahead, enjoy. Yes, a bit of a heavy day, but we'll get through this Colombia story. We got some more fun stuff in American politics to get into today. But truckers are blocking major highways. On Tuesday, demonstrators in the Capitol burned buses and lit over a dozen police stations on fire, singing the national anthem, yelling assassins, and sending officers running for their lives. As Mayor Lemus, 28, a school teacher standing not far from the nurse on Wednesday, this is not just about the tax reform. This is about corruption, inequality, and poverty, and all of us young people are tired of it. The demonstrations are, in part, a continuation of a movement that swept South America in late 2019, as people took to the streets in Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Nicaragua, and elsewhere. Each country's protest was different, but in all of them, people voiced their grievances over limited opportunity, widespread corruption, officials who appear to be working against them. Then came the pandemic. Latin America was one of the regions hardest hit by the virus in 2020, with cemeteries filling past capacity, the sick dying while waiting for care in hospital hallways, and family members spending the night in lines to buy medical oxygen in an attempt to keep loved ones alive. There's another thing about COVID worth pointing out, where in the United States we go, okay, funky off-season flu, about as deadly, maybe less so, maybe a little more so. If you got rid of the flu, brought it back, probably a lot worse than COVID coming in out of nowhere. And in this country, we're pretty good at dealing with the flu and infectious diseases and staying healthy overall, right? We have access to, I mean, what you can get at a corner drugstore in the United States is an incredible luxury that most human beings don't know even today. So in a third world country, or without the same standard of hygiene or access to technology that provides for a higher standard of hygiene, COVID is actually going to be a bigger deal there. You know, I think about like we've been looking at developed China. In China, there's a huge there are a lot of people in that more closer to that third world status, right? Whereas in the United States, like we have a homeless population that you can say is like sort of third world lifestyle, maybe, but it's a minority, right?
You've got germs like MRSA that thrive in too clean areas.
There's
a lack of bacteria, so another bacteria.
But most countries are. I mean, think about India. Like most people on Earth don't enjoy the luxury that we do as citizens of the empire in the United States. So they're like, even in Colombia, there are large parts of the population that don't have the same hygienist. That if there was a bad flu season, it would hurt them a lot more. So as a funky new off-season flu-like virus, however you want to characterize COVID, right? Then yeah, it's going to be a bigger deal. So is it going to be exaggerated and used for manipulation? Oh, fuck yeah. Oh yeah, and especially when it's being driven by the U.S. media and pharmaceutical companies. You see, as sort of this is where it's kind of metaphorical to call these smaller countries satellites of the empire, but this is modern imperialism. Instead of it's a transnational corporate imperialism rather than an imperialism of political authority. So when the big pharmaceutical companies use the mainstream media, use government to drive the pandemic hype, to drive the vaccine racket overall, that government should pay for them, that the vaccine manufacturers should be immune from legal consequences of people who get hurt from their vaccines. That is the global corporate empire spawned by the powers that be. That is, and whether that's Amerocentric or the great old rich European powers, or if there's some critical mass of Chinese billionaires that you have to include in that, fine. But this is where it gets exported. These are the people who really are hurting from this, and it is the exploitation of people who live in less fortunate circumstances that makes it possible for us in the United States to think that we're better than everybody else because we have a higher standard of living, when it's really nothing about virtue so much as luck and circumstance and where we were born. So are the trolls out? No comments. Literally no comment. Mercedes says no comments worth putting up.
Yeah, the trolls are out today.
Well, then give me some troll comments. Oh, let's talk to the trolls. Why not?
We should. I feel like when people get ugly, maybe spotlighting that ugliness would be helpful, because it only makes them look ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like joking with trolls.
Joking with trolls is fun.
Yeah. All right. Okay. No other comments I need to share here.
Where are they all coming from?
A lot of.
I mean, thanks for the love.
All right, so back to Colombia. Let's see. Cemeteries filling past capacity, the sick dying while waiting for care in hospital hallways, family members spending the night in lines to buy medical oxygen in an attempt to keep ones alive. The region's economies shrank by an average of 7% in many places, particularly among the young spike. In the first few months of 2021, though, the COVID-19 situation has only worsened. While wealthier countries prepare to reopen, in Latin America, a deadly variant of the virus originally found in Brazil called P1. Yeah, P1 has ripped through populations recently, pushing many countries to their worst daily death tolls. Then in Colombia, Mr. Duque announced his tax reform, one of the first attempts in the region to try to deal with the economic shortfall exacerbated by the pandemic. While the measure would have kept in place a critical pandemic era cash subsidy, would have also raised prices on many everyday goods and services. Soon, long brewing resentment spilled over into the streets. So we'll see where this turns out, or how this goes. If this kind of protest in Colombia is going to lead to some more momentum to perhaps regime change. Related headline from Newsweek.com: Internet disrupted in Colombia as protesters killed during rally against Ivan Duque Marquez. Accounts of, and there's an interesting. I don't understand this. Like Colombia, they refer to, or Central America, a lot of times by middle names, right? So the full name of the president of Colombia is Ivan Duque Marquez, often referred to as Duque from his middle name. Accounts of internet problems in Colombia during anti-government protests have been reportedly confirmed. The internet watchdog organization NetBlocks found service disruptions in Cali, Colombia, beginning approximately 4:30 p.m. local time on Tuesday. They were still ongoing as of Wednesday morning. Cali has been the site of some of the bloodiest protests. Colombian President Ivan Duque Marquez and his tax plan that was aimed at helping the economy recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Come on, Newsweek. This is one of those times where you go, you really are the bootlickers here. His tax plan was aimed at helping the economy recover from the pandemic. No. Yeah, suddenly the governments care about the people. No. Can you at least use honest language? Marquez and his tax plan that he said, just insert it, was aimed at, right? Thus far, there have been at least 19 people killed during the nationwide protests and hundreds of others sustaining injuries. And of course, now who knows who is blocking what on the internet in Colombia. But now we're going to skip ahead a second here, if you don't mind, Jim. We got to go up to, let's see, skipping ahead 2 stories to Wall Street Journal. Chicken shortage sends prices to restaurants can't keep up. Now, are you seeing the connection with Colombia already? Going with this? Spicy says hot wings and a labor crunch push poultry prices to records. Chicken wings are flying off the shelves. Okay. After a year promoting takeout wings and crispy chicken sandwiches, restaurants including KFC, Wingstop, and Wild Wings Inc. say they are steep for scarce poultry, fillets, and wings. Some of their most reliable sales. Independent eateries and bars without wings on chicken breast prices more than doubled. Market Erner Berry. Now, we've experienced this around the United States, even here locally. There are restaurants that have its selection because they can't get. There was an adjustment period. Stop eating out. Huge supply chain disruptions. If you were again going back to last March, the beginning of this pandemic period, the season in 2020, there were just truckloads full of fruits and vegetables right side of the road because supply chain disruption from the forced unemployment crisis. And a huge chunk of the food that Americans consume went from being purchased in grocery stores to being grown at. So there's a shift, and now that people are going back to eating out, adjustments in that supply chain, and there are problems with inflation. I'm sorry, we should say price inflation. Finally catching up with the inflation of the month that's been with urgency. Seem to, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just have an annual emergency spending bill. Our annual emergency along with everything. No, Minnesota CBS. That's for CBS 4 WCCO Minnesota. Grocery prices up steeply from same last year. Starting to see the connection with Colombia and the protests there. And why in the United States? Oh, government gave everybody $1,400 at once. That's not a joke. Empty. That's China on audio. Audio is
audio's
super
messed
wide.
up, but that's the whole feed. Just
The streaming or anything.
the files are in the computer.
They're in the audio. That's fun.
I'm not sure what's happening. Producer interruption. Sorry. But yeah, I thought it was just me. I asked the backstage. I didn't get any response. And then I pulled it up on my YouTube on my phone to listen separately. And yeah, the audio on your end is completely choppy and garbage. If the commenters could let me know what my audio is doing, then we could determine if it's StreamYard itself or if it's just your connection somehow. But you
sound
like,
great to me, Jim. Joey's stepping into the other room to check another device.
Getting like where you're literally saying, and then you're saying, you know what I mean? It's like cutting back 2 seconds and repeating yourself over yourself, and it's like glitching, and then you're cutting out in and out. Yeah, if you rewatch it, you're gonna be like, "What the hell?" They said my audio is clear 5x5, so it's your connection for some reason. Something's happening on your end.
Maybe it's some mic or anything interference. Is that better? But wait, Jim, you hear me okay?
No, I hear you. I hear the distortion. I can hear like 80% of what you're saying, but there's a lot of in and out.
Okay,
cutting. It's like it keeps resetting itself.
Yeah.
So while you do that, I'll remind people that they can check out the links that we might possibly not get to today at the public Telegram channel, t.me/Adam versus the man. And another thing we can do while Adam is waiting to reconnect is go ahead and brace ourselves with more blessed pictures from the Garden of Freedom Instagram, which you should be a part of. There's a beautiful cat up on a ladder. That's always fun. Cats are fun. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but I have not looked yet this morning at the new ones with Thelma and Louise, and they're beautiful. I love these dogs already. I can't wait to go meet them in person. Falcor can't wait to meet them. I hope they get along. That's all I can say about that. Adam is not quite back yet, so we'll just keep browsing on through the Instagram, checking out how they're adapting. See all the animals that are growing in Instagram, litters of cats and dogs going on. It's outstanding. There's our fearless leader back. Let's hope that he has.
All right. How's that?
No, that's absolutely worse.
All right.
Because now you have like a static behind the whole thing. Now I can't hear you at all. Nope. Technical difficulties. We haven't had this level of technical difficulty in a little while, so welcome to Throwback Thursday, Adam versus the man. We're throwing back to the Gardenia technical difficulties days. We got Ant backstage as our co-host, so you give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on and say hi for a little while. Awesome. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Hey, man, what's going on? So I'm finally home. I've been out in the old field doing my old field thing. I worked over. And I wasn't lying when I said it's too early. Here's, I can't smoke weed, but I can drink beer. So
there you go. Cheers. Here, I don't drink beer, but I smoke weed. So there you go.
Smoke weed every day.
Your alcohol every day.
Exactly.
In moderation. That's ridiculous.
Always in moderation.
Even
so yeah, I got another laptop, which seems to be working fine. My other one, I'm gonna have to get fixed. So I bought another one. Well, I can fix this one. So it's kind of.
Yeah, but we weren't able to get you logged in the back stream. That's why you're not able to comment.
We'll get there. I mean,
next week you're going to be in there solid and perfect. You're going to be right in the flow of things. So that'll be good.
Hopefully that's the plan there, isn't it? So I think his microphone itself is having issues because when he touched it, it kind of made more distortion. Did you hear that?
Yeah. The strange thing about it is that it happened just randomly, like all of a sudden, here you go, here's an audio problem for you, you know. Like he didn't touch anything or do anything. He was just right in the middle of talking. His phone's been sitting there on a tripod. How does it all of a sudden decide to
exactly.
He was talking about AI today, so who knows, you know.
Hey, the aliens are listening. You know, and so it's kind of funny because I noticed earlier, I lost my internet at my house. I never lose the internet at my house. Right before the show started, my internet went down, so I'm running off of my my hotspot right now because I have backup internet. I have backup equipment. I mean, I have so much extra stuff. Hey, we got Adam. Can I hear you?
Audio.
We good?
Maybe.
It sounds good so far, I think. Say something again. Give me a long sentence.
From the halls of Montezuma.
Ooh, there's a tiny glitch at the end there, so I don't know, but it sounds better than it did a second ago. So
definitely sounds better.
Yeah,
when you said Montezuma at the very end, it glitched a tiny bit, but
nothing changed around here.
Yeah, you're cutting out. There you go. You're cutting out. That's what I was just saying to him. I said, that's what's weird about it is your phone's just been sitting on a tripod and all of a sudden it decides here's an audio problem, you know, like what
has to do with it.
See, there was something I was about to launch the protest in the United States that was going to be the equivalent to Colombia's and overthrow the Biden regime like they were all in the Duque there, and they had to be like, nope, can't. Nah, you guys, am I okay now? Is this passable? Should we get back into it?
And when you started talking about it, it kind of got worse when you started saying what you were just saying. No,
all right,
saying.
You guys vamp, play with the trolls. I'm gonna try restarting and updating Chrome because live. I'm taking 5. Enjoy the stay, ladies and gentlemen.
That is strange. That is hard to watch, strange. You know. Yeah. Let's go. We got Mercy and Ed both backstage. Give me thumbs up from both of you if you want to be on camera. Okay, we got 1, we got 2. So we got a full set now.
Hey,
so we got a whole panel.
I don't know how well I'm on
this.
my laptop. I don't know. Is there an echo?
No, you sound fine. You're in your headphones.
You're great.
I don't know. These are for the downstairs.
Every the audio except for Adam right now because he was trying to start the largest protest known to mankind.
So I'm not saying anything. No, it's a beautiful day outside today, guys. Like the weather here is gorgeous. There's some chemtrails overhead. Floor's being nice. My garden is nice and growing. I'd take you over there, but I'll lose. I'll lose it. Oh, look at where Ed's at. Ed's even more beautiful.
I'm in beautiful Flagstaff, Arizona, and it's a gorgeous day.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's just fantastic here.
I love Flagstaff, man. The trees there are so beautiful. The air's good, clean, smells good. I love it. I love Flagstaff.
I have a neighbor mowing. Cora is a pregnant dog. Yeah, it's a pretty nice day out. Except for the tech issues. Steve, looking at you, Steve. Haven't said hi to our feds for a while. Maybe that's what's going on. They're mad at us.
Probably mad. That or
probably stop making jokes like that.
Hey, Gardenia, this is what real trees look like.
I don't have them here either, Ed.
Well, I don't have a tree on my place.
That's what real trees look like.
I think she wins.
Those are bigger.
I'm from the land of flat water. We know how to build trees here. It's like Nebraska's the home of Arbor Day or something.
There's surely a wider range of species of trees there with you in Nebraska as well, I'm sure.
I mean, our state trees, the cottonwood, and I don't want to talk about it.
I think our state tree is a tumbleweed.
Speaking of, I saw so many on the trip back from Gardenia. Let's talk about that. Trip back from Gardenia. There were so many tumbleweeds, fences, and like we have them here, and we have quite a bit. But oh my God, they're like
you went to a crater, right?
What?
You went to that crater, you said, right?
Yeah, I went to the meteor crater. There's a meteor crater in Arizona. I saw it on the plane. on the way back or when I went the first time, but I actually took a detour and went inside. I didn't go inside though, because you know, I wanted to get home before today. And so no, I went outside, took some selfies, took some panorams of the area, because you know it's an impact crater. So the crater itself is built up in a mound because, you know, big boom, and then everything around it's just, you know, leveled because big boom. And it's definitely it's really cool to see. And my husband's home
Yay.
for lunch. That's not quite made yet.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to see that, what Mercedes was just talking about, that's right off the I-40.
Yeah, it
It's,
is too. And it's
like,
not too
just-
far off.
Yeah, it's just east of Flag, ain't it?
I think so. I don't remember.
Is that the
I
one
mean, a
they say
little
that
ways,
extincted
but-
the dinosaurs?
I think
No. I went there with my daughter one time on one of our road trips, and they have a display and everything, and that was a common question: is this the one that killed dinosaurs? They said no. This one was just. I mean, it was probably catastrophic to the area, but they don't know when it happened or whatever. You know, they don't think it was the one that killed the dinosaurs. That's all I remember.
over there on the side of the house.
No.
Hi, Matthew.
Huh?
You're home early. I said hi, Matthew.
Oh.
I'm live on the laptop. Adam's having
Early
aliens.
morning drinking beer.
Yeah, so I'm gonna, if you want to take me off screen here, I'm gonna run downstairs now that he's home, and then I'll pump myself back up.
Boom. Problem solved. Wow, it got quiet. The 2-year-old in the background got quiet all of a sudden. Adam is reconnecting right now as we speak.
Awesome.
So, well, it says device is not connected, so maybe he's having connection issues. Anyways,
I've been having issues with AT&T, like randomly. A lot of their cell towers have been down for the last week or so. In places I normally have like 5G, I have no service at all. So it might be something to do with that.
That's weird. And I have AT&T. And I can tell you a weird thing with them and their towers. For one thing, my phone, and I've been on AT&T for years, my phone like a year and a half ago or so started saying 5GE on the top of it. Now that just confuses people because you assume that means you're on 5G. You know what I mean? Nobody really even questions what the E means. They just, oh, look, 5G. I have 5G. But that 5G wasn't 5G. They literally, that was like a promotional thing just to put 5G in people's heads. They literally, somebody sued them or something, and they could, because it was false something or other, whatever. But anyways, long story short, here at my house, it always said 5GE. And then one day I woke up and I realized it said 5G. And the G was bigger and there was no E. And I was like, oh, that's different. But all of a sudden it would like reconnect. Like I couldn't get on the internet. Every time I tried to open anything, it would disconnect and reconnect, disconnect. Every 30 seconds, literally, it would disconnect my cellular data and reconnect it to the tower, like all of a sudden. And I was like, what the hell?
I seem to have major issues with my 5G too. Ed just chimed in. He says his battery is dead, so he'll talk to us later.
Oh, bye, Grandpa.
Okay. Does that mean, okay, I guess I should check the chat. Dead battery. Oh no, that was
Joey
Ed.
Joey said
okay.
alien, and Ed said his battery's dead. I'm just going to say that I am not surprised at the technical issues that we are having today based on the discussions we were having between aliens and Colombia. That's all I'm going to say. And Adam's just a black blurb of nothing. So the alien, I don't.
He's still
there,
he's
but
still
now
fighting.
they won't even let him connect anymore. He has reached the
the
next
feds are onto
level.
him.
He's
This is
reached the
Carl.
next level of censorship.
This is Carl
Yep.
the llama. I would just like everybody to meet him.
So,
Killing time.
going back,
Killing time.
Adam briefly mentioned the that Colombia deal. One of the headlines was like they were shutting down their internet so that they couldn't have access to, you know,
Russia.
the internet.
Russia. Well, let's go over some news. What did we hear in the news lately about the internets? Russia is going to control their internets completely. Oh, look, Adam's back even. Look at that. Russia wants complete control of their internet, and they're going to do it. So
let's let Adam see if he's any better. Adam, what do you got?
Testing. 1, 2. How's the audio?
So far we
better.
So
sound
far,
good.
so good. We're
I
back.
think so.
All
I
right,
think we're back.
let's get into it and
We're
see
gonna
if we
just
can
go
make
with
it through
this.
the rest of the
Okay.
show.
Yeah.
Thank
30
you all
minutes.
for bearing with us. Okay, so back to the United States, and now StreamYard has frozen me again here, so we'll see what happens. But back to the United States and the problems with inflation and food prices. Minnesota CVS grocery prices up steeply from same time last year. Your grocery list could be eating away at your budget without you noticing. Nearly everything at the store, from beef and cereal to fruit and veggies, costs more than it did a year ago. And the funny thing is, we don't recognize that in the natural state of economic development, everything should always be getting cheaper and easier to make and more readily available. The fact that it's getting more expensive right now is a product of the weakening of the dollar, that they have given out so much cash, using COVID as the excuse while preventing people from working and creating more valuable goods and services. Now you have way more money, way more dollars chasing less goods and services. So prices are going to go up as a result. This is price inflation, whereas inflation itself refers to the increase, the inflating of the monetary supply. We've experienced this over this is sort of like I told you so. This is a big one for me, right? For a lot of libertarians looking at this from an economic analysis, saying, look, if you print all this money and you stop people from working, prices are going to go up, the dollars are going to buy less. You simply can't centrally plan things and not have unintended consequences. The thing is, these consequences are not unintended. They're going to pretend that they are. Oh, whoops, we couldn't have controlled those unforeseen economic dynamics that just sprang up out of nowhere, supply and demand. What a novel idea. No, this is obviously planned and part of the engineered manipulation of the economy where your dollar buys less. So how much lower? The average prices. Well, we have a super chat. I didn't see it.
Super chat.
We have a super
better
chat.
internet.
To always get better internet. All right. So the average prices in March of 2021 for pork chops and chicken breasts. All right, there it is. $5, Mike Freemandale, with your tech stuff, bruh. All right. Well, it's really just about waiting for 5G for off-grid internet here. Just a matter of time. I think what we do here is amazing. There are some equipment upgrades we're working on, and it's first time I'll talk shit about ThinkPad, but this laptop I have is falling apart. It's under warranty, so I can send it back, but the USB ports don't work. The main camera on this it's a nightmare. I got to send it in, but I live in this laptop. It is an extension of my brain, like my phone. So I need to move into another laptop so I can send this one in to get it fixed. Very frustrating. I haven't had my trackball mouse for like 6 months now, and it's killing me. All right, so the average prices in March of 2021 for pork chops and chicken breasts are both up more than 10% compared to March of 2020. Eggs and cheddar cheeses are both up 6%. Looking at all consumer goods as a whole, the latest inflation data in the Consumer Price Index from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics shows the largest month-to-month increase in almost 9 years. According to Vivi Chari of Minnesota Econ Prof, the month-to-month data is not something we should be unduly concerned about. We should be concerned about the possibility of persistent increases in inflation. Chari says the economy is making up for the pandemic when prices didn't rise like they normally do. Looking at it year to year, inflation is only 1% or so higher than what Chari says we would expect. This sounds like a fiat currency apologist to me. There are no indications that we will see the dramatic inflation rates that we saw in the late 70s and early 80s when prices went up by 10%, 12% each year. Well, they just went up 20%. No, so it is a similar story. The gas pump prices have gone up more than $1.20 compared to a year ago, but that was when demand was at rock bottom because so many people were at home. So if you're comparing year to year exactly, yeah, that's not a fair comparison. So like groceries, but hey, again, this is going to be a product of the cash in the market chasing less goods and services. So like groceries, gas is catching up to get back to where we would actually expect it to be, according to Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis at Gas. But he says gas prices should continue to rise as the economy bounces back. Yeah, and it's funny how you, as the average American working getting your paycheck just feel suddenly like you can't keep up. Isn't that funny? The economy's bouncing back. Prices are going up. Economic activity is rebounding, and yet most people are still struggling. Funny how that works. Biden outlines plan to preserve more wilderness. President's plan would emphasize local private efforts. Some Republicans call it a land grab. This from Wall Street Journal. The Biden administration wants to preserve wildlife habitats by expanding collaboration with private landowners and state and local governments, with less emphasis on putting more land under federal protection, according to a report issued Thursday. This sounds like the opposite of a land grab, although if they're doing something, I mean, it's like when government decriminalizes cannabis, it's not because suddenly they respect human rights, it's because they want to protect their main racket. If government goes to expand control over wilderness and public lands, is it them? The question is it them conceding something, saying, "Hey, in order to preserve the fiat currency, the main government racket, we're going to give up this little sub racket here that is the protection of wildlife areas." So the report, Conserving and Restoring America the Beautiful, provides a preliminary outline of how the administration can pursue a goal President Biden has set to conserve 30% of the country's land and water by 2030. Mr. Biden adopted the 30% target from scientists and environmentalists who say it can help stem animal and plant extinctions, threats to water and food supplies, and other environmental crises. About 12% of U.S. land and roughly 23% of ocean territory is currently under permanent strong protection, according to the Interior Department, which is leading the administration's efforts. So I think it's too soon to do an analysis and try to say whether or not this is going to be a giving up, a concession by government, or really just a land grab. From the Examiner at MSN.com, no dating, no sex, no marriage, no baby. Despite most of the nation being holed up for the past year, there is quite a lack of chilling, even as the viewership of Netflix and other streaming services exploded. And Netflix and chill, we've gone to the next level with that slang. Hey, babe, you want to get some chill on? Yeah. Dude, I saw this couple. They were chilling in the bushes over there. Did you see that? Oh my God. They were chilling like crazy. Chilling like animals. Birth rates plummeted to a record low after 5 previous straight years of decline. Although better contraception use has contributed to a decrease in the abortion rate, protection doesn't look like the key factor here. Instead, our population crisis is an intimacy one. Although the coronavirus didn't preclude married and dating couples from cohabitating and copulating, a startling number of Americans was single and evidently not ready to mingle, even prior to the pandemic. In 2019, a majority of adults 18 to 34 reported not having a steady partner, and nearly a quarter of 20-somethings reported having no sex in the prior year. It's true that millennials, scarred by the boomer embrace of family-shattering divorces, has led to them waiting to enter more stable marriages, and in part, the decrease of the birth rate can be attributed to these happily married couples simply waiting to have children. Given the stark decrease of teen pregnancies, this isn't an entirely terrible thing, but there is a darker half of the story. A staggering 17% of millennials reported putting off having children because of the pandemic, and 15% said it made them less interested in having children at all. But second to the cost of having children, most millennials reported not having children because they lacked a suitable partner or spouse. The loneliness of lockdowns has manifested itself in a multitude of ways, including soaring addictions and mental health crises, which makes you a lot less ready to mingle, but perhaps not as quite as tangible as a generation of young people living like old maids, and local governments seem keen to exacerbate the problem. Really? Where they're going to blame local governments. Despite rising vaccination rates and sinking coronavirus cases, Mayor Muriel Bauer of D.C. has still deemed dancing illegal, and governors like Andrew Cuomo are reopening their states at a snail's pace. Even every normal function of how young people found partners prior to cell phones, be it parties or happy hours, are still being discouraged by the powers that be. We'll pay a literal price for this so long as we refuse to reform the entitlement programs driving our national debt to crisis numbers. But on an emotional level, the birth decline demonstrates a social crisis of normal human intimacy. Just part of the long march into our matrix pods, where we'll be living in pink goo and the machines can just live on us directly. 1054 chill flicks, the new euphemism for porn movies. Chill flicks. All right, now we do have an uncontained COVID story that we wanted to get to on this Thursday rather than waiting till Monday. Though we do have a lot of alien stories stacking up for tomorrow's Fun Fina Friday show. Healthy Disrespect weighs in. I wonder if sale of sex toys has gone up. I think it has. Yeah, some sex toys, solo sex toys. Bloomberg prognosis. Here comes the COVID-19 community core, and they want you. From a Maine farm to church pews and Instagram, vaccine foot soldiers are out in force, gunning to meet Biden's 70% goal. 70% vaccination, 30% of the environment saved, right? Now, someone in our producers club pointed out that on Facebook, which I very carefully avoid, and really, if you're on Facebook, stay out of your newsfeed. Connect with people directly, even there. Don't let Facebook tell you who to pay attention to and who to connect with. But from this, we have the Armored. Okay, so sorry, on Facebook, they're getting promoted posts. And Jim, I don't know if you can pull this up from the Producers Club because it's under a flood of other messages now. But I think it was Ant Ralston was sharing these pictures, screenshots from his Facebook feed of these promoted posts that just looked like normal posts from regular people, not even with a link or anything, just saying, I got my shot. There's a crazy effort to manipulate the public to make people think that everybody is getting these shots. And I'm trying to scroll back here now as we're doing this to find these pictures. Was it yesterday? Was it today? Okay, yeah, it was earlier today. So one of them is Tony Bennett, and it's a sponsored post from the now Tony Bennett, obviously. Rat Pack Tony Bennett. This is apparently, well, maybe not for long. He just got a second COVID vaccine shot. But no, Tony Bennett says both doses of the COVID-19 vaccine are important. Just got the second dose today. And it's got a link to resources. Now, here's another one. This is funny because this is Virgie Tovar. And I don't know how to describe this woman. She has kind of a unusual overweight look. But it's her pose, and she's got a blue check mark. So maybe there's so many celebrities I've never heard of. Like, I don't know, but has anybody heard of Virgie Tovar?
Not even.
No. So Virgie Tovar, I don't think I've ever been so excited for the start of spring. I got my first vax shot last week, and I'm just so grateful to be here to watch the earth open up with blooms and color for another year. And it's just, there's no link, but this is a sponsored post. Then Kelly Swoopa. That's like the word swoop with an E, and it's sponsored. Does anybody know who Kelly Swoop is? And this is 3.6 thousand shares. That means there's some fishy promotion going on here. I'm so excited my parents got their first shot of the COVID vaccine before the crack of dawn at State Farm Stadium.
Woo.
Yeah.
We're going to promote and advertise everything. It's like Super Bowl and NASCAR all put together in a vaccine.
State Farm Stadium. Hats off to Arizona Department of Health Services for getting them scheduled and their shots without delays or drama. They've got one more round. I'm so proud and happy for them. I can't wait to see them in person one day real soon. And then now here's one from someone without a blue check mark. And I'm going back. So Jim, if you want to pull up that image and just like scroll back in the Telegram reel, back a few to Justin Makita, mom and dad, and Justin Makita sponsored global. Mom and dad just got their first dose of the vaccine. I cried. Thank you, science. Lady Moderna, Shantae, you stay. It's like a really bad RuPaul reference. Really, it's a RuPaul Drag Race reference. When RuPaul, as she is dismissing contestants, sashay away is the order, like get off the stage, or Shantae, you stay. So I mean, this is just creepy Facebook stuff. By the way, another thing that came up in the Telegram, someone said that Derek Chauvin had a net worth of $5 million. This is
How?
No, this is bullshit.
Okay.
And I know this from being a very, very minor celebrity myself, because there's this weird like celebrity net worth. There's a celebrity net worth website, but if you go like Adam Kokesh, and net worth is the first suggestion, and it says my income in 2018 was around $1 million, and I'm like,
damn. Where'd you put it all?
woo. I mean,
Buried in goddamn.
that's crazy. Yeah, that I made at $1 million income in 2018.
Who made that?
I think like if you include every project I was involved in, I may have touched $1 million that year. I may have been like voted as board member of different organizations, voted on the allocation of this. But no, my personal income in 2018 around 1 million. And my personal income is one of those things that's very hard to calculate, not because it's so much, but because it's like, is that income? Is that trade? Is that barter? Is that capital gains? But like, I mean, in like actual income is like never been more than, I mean, never much. I've never, I mean, except for when I had the TV show, that was like a decade ago. I mean, I guess I could say like my personal income as an adult, actual personal income, has never been over 200,000 a year. And most of the time, most of my adult life, well under 100,000 in a year. And you might say like, well, I've moved or touched or in personal businesses and somehow misconstrue that as income, but like, no. And so this is like, it's a weird thing. Celebrity net worth on the internet. There are a bunch of people whose income is like freakishly exaggerated, because there's this weird, American market for celebrity gossip where people just want to, they want to see, oh my God, they make so much money, $1 million contracts. And it's like, even Joe Rogan, who's, we've pointed out on the show, 100 million Spotify contract. Is that over 10 years? Is that over 50 years?
Yeah.
Like, is that spaced out? Is that in commissions? Is that in sales? Is that with stock options that add up to by some exaggerated valuation?
If you sell
$100 million? Yeah.
On the
Like,
street,
so,
the cardboard box.
yeah.
What's the number? What's the
Yeah, so
formula?
the other thing is net worth is a very tricky thing to calculate. Like if you looked at my net worth, would you say my social media like some people would look at my Twitter and say, well, you got 50,000 followers on Twitter. If you monetize that would be worth X dollars, but not when you're shadow banned. I own my land. And if you value all the junk that I've piled up here to full extreme value, you might say it's worth a lot. But this is a $10,000 piece of land that I started with. It's not even, no.
Not extravagant.
No, it's not.
Well,
So anyway, but back to this. Armored to Victory, Veterans Coalition for Vaccination. Yeah, they got to take advantage of the vets. Just 35 million to go. The U.S. has already inoculated 146 million adults against COVID-19 in the most massive vaccination drive in history. These next few million might seem like just a sprint to the finish line. In fact, they are likely to prove The toughest of all, the states work their way toward President Biden's goal of 70% of those 18 and older with one shot in their arm by July 4th. As Jenny Tilton Flood, dairy farmer in Clinton, Maine, says, we've hit the low-hanging fruit, the folks that were lining up, that were eager beavers. We've got them done. Now we've got to get the rest. You know, and they probably will. But the nice thing about this is that there is a limit. Like, you are going to see more of this. The incentives, and you know, it's funny because there are places now where you can get, it's like West Virginia's paying residents $100 each to get the shot. And you're like, shit, I could have waited and gotten paid $100 to get this shot instead of just a sharp stick in the arm and some flu-like symptoms. No. Yeah, if you want to be the last one, right? No, but actually you really want to be in that group. And this is the sort of, if you buy the premises of all this bullshit and the significance, the selfish thing to do is to not get immunized and let everybody else get immunized, so you don't have to have the physical burden of processing a vaccine, and just everybody else kills the virus, you know, or makes us get to herd immunity. But Timothy Peter Jr., I really hope that 70% of our population doesn't have bad side effects. So that's I think there is a limit to this, right? There are a lot of anti-vaxxers right now raising some very realistic and alarming spectacles potential here if they get to, you know, forcing vaccines on people. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to get to that 70% and the incentive is kind of going to fade. And there's a natural thing about this where you can you go to your doctor, you go to your employer. Hey, I know you want to require people to do this. And we covered the story with a woman in Florida at Harvest Dispensary, fired for not taking the vaccine. And it's like, hey, I've got a bad history with vaccines. I'd rather not take this. Can they fire you for that? You probably sue. Not that you necessarily should. I mean, if someone does something they have a right to do to you, like take a job away because it's an agreement. So you don't have a right to a job any more than you have a right to a relationship with someone. But yeah, people are being really stupid, and employers are being really stupid about how they're going along with this. So again, like I wouldn't say never get the vaccine, but do your research, be cautious. And it looks like the longer you wait, the better it gets. So at very least, if you wait a while, maybe we'll know that one vaccine is safer than the other. I mean, let's just grant the statists and the pro-vaxxers, you know, like their premises here and go, well, look, according to your shit, the longer we wait, the better it gets, the safer it gets. Hey, I'll just practice distancing and risk the virus for now and wait until we have the next version generation safety standard for the vaccine on this. And maybe by the time we get to then, it won't matter. It'll just be like the flu, right? But yeah, onward to victory. This is modernized Rosie the Riveter. Did you see that graphic? Yeah. It's like vaguely ethnic woman with short, curlyish, matted hair. You know, you can't tell if she's smiling or not. She's got that arm flexed and the sleeve rolled up, and it's like so many layers of propaganda. Okay, Jim, going back in the stack to what we skipped, AP News. General, China's Africa outreach poses threat from Atlantic. And this is a story I haven't seen covered in a while, so it's very interesting to watch as Africa comes into the modern age. In many ways, natural resources and populations being able to, I was going to say harvested by first world countries as they become more valuable. But yeah, that's not an unfair description. And so watching now as China might be doing a much better job of reaching out to Africa for economic connections, just in a good way, right? And a sort of natural positive. Let's let technology uplift economies across the world. Chinese business interests, American business interests, everything outside of Africa having interests in Africa is now going to lead to some hotspots of development and political conflict. And one of the things that we've seen in the past in Africa as a unique leapfrog of technologies, you remember this, when fiat currencies were failing, they didn't go to crypto, they went to phone minutes. It was phone service minutes. Now, of course, technological disruption making minutes unlimited kind of ruins that as a currency, but there were places in Africa, they didn't go through a flip phone or dumb phone phase. They went straight to smartphones. Like out of the blue, this appeared. And so you talk about like a major region of the world that is going to have some leapfrogs with technology. It's Africa. The top U.S. general for Africa is warning that a growing threat from China may come not just from the waters of the Pacific, but from the Atlantic as well. U.S. General Stephen Townsend, in an interview with the AP, said Beijing is looking to establish a large Navy port capable of hosting submarines or aircraft carriers on Africa's western coast. Townsend said China has approached countries stretching from Mauritania to south of Namibia, intent on establishing a naval facility if realized. That prospect would enable China to base warships in its expanding navy in the Atlantic as well as Pacific Oceans. And I have to say, and sort of as a student of military history, to watch the transition from hot wars to cold wars happen is actually a very positive one. To see that instead of, let's see who can kill the most of the other people's soldiers the fastest, it's more, jockeying for power and positioning of military resources. And it's that the threat of that massive violence is more relevant than the application of that violence, because that application of that violence requires more of an excuse than you can generate in the world of the internet. You can't say, oh yeah, all those slanty-eyed yellow people over there want to kill us, so we have to kill some of the ones in Vietnam, to keep the commies from China from taking over. Like, yeah, there's a lot. There's going to be more of that kind of propaganda of manipulation, but it's going to be, therefore you should align economically with us, not therefore you should let us kill all of those people on the other side of the world. So now we're gonna see more of these stories of the jockeying for power and that kind of position around Africa. First domino, we should all stay at home dads. We should all be stay-at-home dads and make the girls fight the wars like the Amazon.
I'm down.
I'm up for that.
I am so ready. Let's
go. All right. So speaking of stay-at-home dads, there's going to be a very busy one in Mali. Fun, quick stories. We breeze through the rest of our headlines. WTOP.com. Woman from Mali gives birth to 9 babies in Morocco. Yeah, a Malian woman has given birth to 9 babies at once. I hope they were in order, like one after another, not literally all at once, right? I don't think vaginas work that way. Expecting 7, but gave birth to 9, according to Mali's Minister of Health in the Moroccan clinic where the nonuplets were born. It's like a great name for a band. Ladies and gentlemen, hello Munich, we are the nonuplets! Yeah! Okay, enough of that. Adam's rock star David Hasselhoff fantasy for the day. Done. Reuters, in Trump's crosshairs, Cheney says Republicans at a turning point. So now we go to American politics briefly for a spotlight on Liz Cheney, U.S. representative, daughter of the Dick. Yes, that Dick Cheney warned on Wednesday that her Republican Party is at a turning point as it prepares to try to remove her from leadership for rejecting former President Donald Trump's false claims the election was stolen from him. Very interesting battle going on now for the heart and soul of the Republican Party, as Liz Cheney has done a pretty good job of lining herself up with the longer-term base that will outlast Trump if the party lasts at all. Politico.com with this next follow-up. Cheney faces the boot in Washington. Wyoming isn't looking much better. So interesting test of Trump's political powers. Honestly, I would love to be Liz Cheney right now and be in that position of going, let's see how, she is really doing some interesting power plays right now. Trump's political operation is engaged in recruiting for Liz Cheney's 2022 primary as the House GOP prepares to oust her from leadership. Yes. Now Republicans back in her home state of Wyoming are plotting how to remove her from Congress entirely. There's no shortage of Republicans eager to take on Cheney in a 2022 primary since her vote to impeach Trump and her subsequent criticism of him tanked her popularity in Wyoming. But the crowded field is also a risk for the anti-Cheney forces, making it more possible for her to win with a plurality. And I'm assuming this is one of those districts in Wyoming that's heavily Republican, very gerrymandered, right? And it's the real contest there is who wins the Republican primary. So for Liz Cheney, a very interesting situation she finds herself in. And as for me, I think of the T-shirt with the donkey and the elephant, and it says, "Children, children, you're both just awful." And here it's not like there's a good wing and a bad wing of the Republican Party. It's like Trumpism versus Cheneyism. Fuck them both. In a sense, I hope I'm kind of really in the bigger fight there. If it was Trumpism versus Cheneyism, and I know Liz Cheney doesn't represent Dick Cheney or W or the neocons, but in that sense, I'm rooting for Trump's populist non-interventionism to have a greater hand in shaping the future of the Republican Party. But then again, Trumpism is a different kind of fascism and big government republicanism too, from New York City. So who really cares who wins? AP, now we're going to skim real quick as we get to time. Did agents raid home of wrong woman over January 6th riot?
Probably.
Yeah, that's
Probably.
yeah. That was the January 6th story I told you we'd follow up on.
They shot her
Skipping
dog.
ahead for some stories, Newsweek.com, suspected serial rapist is a retired Border Patrol agent. Shocking, right? People who did crimes for the government do crimes for themselves. Forbes.com, Mexican Bitcoin exchange Bitso raises $250 million, becomes Latin America's first crypto unicorn. So congratulations to the Bitso team for that. And WRAL.com, South Carolina House adds firing squad to execution methods. Part of this is just because of the bullshit with the chemical injections. They were having failures and they had supply issues because it was illegal here and there to get the execution lethal injection. I think firing squad's a pretty good way to go. Your body, instead of like electrocution, you feel the pain and then it just short circuits your brain. That sounds like a really painful way to go, as opposed to like bursts of pain and your body ripped apart. I'd rather go by firing squad. The funny thing is, if you're
Hang me. Like that's
hanging
better.
might be better,
That's
but
way
firing
better.
squad is even better than hanging.
Come on.
Hanging, you feel that even if your neck snaps, that's pretty gruesome.
But then you've got religious
no.
struggles. You got a body that's not whole and it's got holes all through it. And
I don't care about that.
Well, you
Burn,
don't, but somebody
I
else
don't know.
might.
I don't know. They can't.
Think about
The guillotine was so reliable. How did the U.S. government screw that up? The funny thing is, you know what you can't get if you're going to be executed by the state in South Carolina anymore?
What?
A menthol cigarette.
Oh. Last request?
WOWT.com. Florida man arrested after NSP troopers find over 400 pounds of marijuana hidden in ATMs.
Florida man.
And it's only a matter of time before those ATMs are just dispensing marijuana. And with that, let's check in with whoever the hell is here from our co-host crew. Do we have a winner? Did we have some good UFO stories? I know we had some interesting tech difficulties. What do we have?
We ended up with a lot of trolls. There
Why
was one.
are the troll comments? I'm not seeing them. Where are they? I want the troll comments on screen.
Now, Mike Freeman had one that really made me laugh. It's something about they were just calling to ask about your car's extended warranty.
The aliens.
The aliens. I mean that's epic to me. I mean, so without Ed here, I mean really, I think that's probably one of the funniest ones. Unless somebody else had one that they saw that they thought was funnier, but I mean that to me is just that was gold.
So who was that?
That was Mike Freeman. I think we've already offered him a membership, so keeping it amongst us.
All right, congratulations, Mike. If you're not already plugged in, Jim at thefreedomline.com and all that. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Jim, take us home with some promos before we get to the good news.
Okay, you got it. Join us at t.me/Adam versus the man. That's our public Telegram channel. If you want to be cool like the winner of our contest today and join the private producers club, but you don't want to win a contest, you can just go to adamversustheman.com, click on the Patreon button, join for $10 a month. That makes you a better patron. That gets you access to the private producers club. It also gets you access to 15% off and free shipping on everything in our store at adamversustheman.com. Also, we have a link for the Cigar Federation, and you can get a discount there for all of your cigar purchases using promo code ADAM10. So definitely check that out. Take advantage of that. We showed you earlier, but everyone wants a reminder that there's new pictures and new content up at the Garden of Freedom Instagram. So definitely go there. Instagram at the Garden of Freedom for all the new pictures of Thelma and Louise. They are very photogenic, so there will be plenty of pictures on the way coming from them. The Crypto6.com has the QR codes that you can help the Bitcoin church that was raided. You can help those guys fight that legal battle through these different cryptocurrencies. And GoGreenEnergyOnline.com is the best website on the internet for the do-it-yourselfers that want to learn more about solar power, micro wind power, and zero energy homes. So visit GoGreenEnergyOnline.com.
All right. Thank you, Jim. And it was on this day in 1994, according to Good News in History from goodnewsnetwork.org. 1994, May 6th, the first open election in South Africa was held, and the once outlawed African National Congress won control of parliament from the all-white minority government, a big part of the Nelson Mandela story in South Africa. And with that, smoke weed every day. Mwah, peace and love, y'all. Choose happiness and be excellent to each other.